But I begin my day in the morning. I read the Indianapolis Star. That's kind of for enjoyment, and also because of my job, I need to know what's going on. So if there's something out there in Indiana that's affecting schools, I need to know about it. So I spend about a half hour every morning reading each one of the sections, not just the sports pages, but the finance pages, the city and county, and then the main section of the Star. Usually read it from cover to cover so that I'm familiar with the things that are going on in Indiana on that day. Also, sometime during the day, I'll take a look at, probably for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes maybe, depending on what kind of day it is, on all the different things on CNN, on the internet. I go to a site that has all of the world happenings and things that are happening in the country, around the United States, and so that I can see if there's anything there that's going to affect Greensburg schools. You really think, we live here in our community, and the only thing that's really going to affect us is going to be found here in our community. But there can be things that are found in China, in the Middle East, in Europe, all of those places that can have a direct impact on our life here in Greensburg. So when I'm talking to other professionals here in the community, I want to make sure that I can have an intelligent conversation about that. And I think that's, as a professional, that's what your reading does a lot for you on a daily basis, is it just keeps you up to date on things that are happening in the world so that you can speak intelligently about it. If there's a big issue educationally in the country, and I have someone here from our community who asks me about it, and I go, I don't know anything about it, that doesn't make me look too good as a superintendent. But you can't escape reading if you're going to be a professional. And you probably can't escape reading in any aspect of your life. You need to know what's going on in the world around you. You can get a view of the world from watching the news on TV. You can get a view of the world that may be very biased in one direction, if that's what you depend on for all of your information. So it's very important that you diversify how you gather information, and one of the ways is through reading. And I think that's the whole thing about reading, is you read some things just for enjoyment. You read other things to gain knowledge to where you can do your job, whatever your job's going to be, better than what you're doing it today. If you get a physician who goes through med school in 1970 and they haven't done anything since 1970, I really don't want them to be my doctor, because there's a lot of things that have improved since 1970. If you have a teacher that went to school, and graduated from college in 1965, and they haven't done anything since 1965 when they graduated from college, the world's changed a lot since then. So reading's very important as a professional to keep up on changes in your profession. Like I'll spend about a half hour reading the newspaper, and probably another 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours a day reading other things. I have to prepare a very detailed agenda for a board meeting every month. You guys are going to have a hard time, unless you have some really big readers, probably beating the professionals in the community reading.
Like I said, my name's Alex Meyer. Had this classroom for a class back in junior high. Went to Greensburg High School. I play baseball now for the Minnesota Twins minor league teams, and with that, you guys probably think I don't have to read very much, which can be true in ways, but there's still required readings with scouting reports. There's different types of scouting reports, which for me, I'm a pitcher in baseball, so mine is going to be breaking down the other team's hitters so that I can get them out when I'm pitching. And it's not too much, it's not very in-depth, but it's still something that I've got to read. But the most of my reading comes from being on a bus. Last year was my first year playing in the minor leagues, and one night our game got over at probably 10 o'clock. We got on a bus, left at midnight, going down to Georgia. So we went from near Baltimore, Maryland, all the way down to Augusta, Georgia. And I'm kind of tall, so I can't really fit on a bus very well, so I can't sleep. So really my only option was to have a book on my iPad that I read, and that's what I spent a lot of time doing. I didn't read too much before that, other than the requirements that I had in junior high and high school. But now it's kind of developed into a habit to where when I'm home and I don't have much to do, instead of just playing video games or something, I can get a book out and read and try and learn just a little bit either way I can on anything. I like reading autobiographies a lot. I like reading mystery books. But one of the main things with me when I was your guys' age that I really struggled with, a lot of you were probably smarter than I was, but I couldn't focus very well on books. I had to be in a completely quiet room. I'd have all the distractions put away. I didn't have a cell phone when I was your guys' age, which I'm sure most of you probably do. But I spent a lot of time just down in my basement by myself with the TV turned off, the music off, reading my book. And if I didn't know a word, I would use a dictionary, because that was one thing my freshman high school teacher really emphasized with me. Because I would just, if I didn't know a word, which there were a lot of words I didn't know, I would just skip over it and keep going, and that didn't necessarily work. I missed a lot of key points for that. So that was the one thing that Mr. Holland really emphasized for me, was making sure that if I didn't know a word, I stopped and looked it up, or I asked somebody what it was, and they would help me out. So,
Linda Simmons.
Okay, Linda Simmons.
And I'm the CEO at the hospital. I started out as a nurse there, and I know you think a lot of the stuff that you're learning now you can put aside once you get out there and start working. Unfortunately, that's not true. Your math will carry with you all the way through. I still do a lot of math, have to know a lot of finances, and reading is something else that carries through a long time. I was thinking through, as I was thinking through what I talk about and what I do, and just today, so far this morning, I probably have spent at least an hour and a half to 2 hours reading, between email, some professional articles that have come through. So, well, trust me, there's a lot of reading through all of that. In the nursing end of it, I spent tons of time studying the science textbooks, learning a lot about diseases and how you take care of them, and pharmaceuticals and medications and all of those things that we would do. So there was a lot of reading that went into that. As I progressed and got into masters, there's less textbooks that you read with masters. There are some textbooks that go into that, but then you end up reading a lot of articles. There's a lot of articles. It wasn't unusual for me to have to read anywhere from 8 to 10 scientific journals articles in there and report back on them, or write papers, where I read a lot of emails that come to me. I have a lot of journals that come to me, whether they come to me on the computer and I read them in digital form, or they come to me in paperback, and more going to digital so that you can access them on the computer. But I have to read up on all of those to know what's changing in that realm. The nursing background of me, because I deal with the doctors and I have to be able to relate to them and let them know that yes, we would like to get that piece of equipment, or yes, we would do this, and then come up with justification. I still have to keep up on all the medical journals as well to know what's changing in the way of what we're going to do and how we're going to provide that care. One of the things we used to justify that we really did need to add these 2 floors onto the hospital is the fact that there's plenty of literature out there now that, again, I read through a number of pieces that show that if you can have a private room, there's a better outcome for your patient. There's a decrease, very significant decrease in their chance of catching an infection if they can be in a room by themselves. Their outcome in getting better quicker is much better when they can have family members stay with them or visit with them. That's pretty hard to do when there's another person in the room with you, because they have their family members, you have your family members, you can hear everything that's going on, and it gets crowded. So if you can have a private room where you can do some of those things, it helps significantly. So reading becomes a very important part of your job.
So yeah, I am the Wellness and Membership Director at the YMCA. I feel like I was kind of thinking through what you guys might be thinking when you have different people come in and what their jobs are. And if I was you and your age and somebody came from the YMCA, I would kind of assume that they don't read that much, just because it's the Y. And when you think of it, you think of playing sports or working out or what have you. But we do, as management staff, have to read quite a bit. I did wellness and fitness at Purdue University because I enjoyed exercising and kind of just finding new ways to have healthy lifestyles, and I wanted to help other people do that as well. And I get to do that quite a bit working at the YMCA, make decisions regarding membership, so anything from budgeting what the membership rates need to be to kind of making new membership policies or revising old policies. also like kind of working with our marketing director to develop new membership campaigns to kind of encourage people to come in and do the whole healthy lifestyle thing that I was talking about. And then I do certain things with our just kind of wellness programs in general. So I teach 2 classes a week, like group exercise classes, which is really fun. Yeah, just kind of reading requirements that I face on a daily basis. I am at my desk most of the time. Again, something that I would not think of somebody who works at the YMCA, but I am at my desk most days. So obviously going through daily emails from coworkers or just from businesses or other community members. I have to read quite a bit in our membership software system, which sounds kind of boring, and it is a little boring, but it's not my whole job. Just membership software, making sure that running the reports that I need to run and keeping updated with whatever new functions there are in this membership software. Also just making sure that we create a few things here. Creating things like our handbook, bank draft agreements, termination slips, things that probably you guys haven't dealt with yet, but you might as you get older. Making our program guide, maybe some of you have seen this, hopefully you've seen this. But just certain things like that, and then also reading through like corporate wellness contracts. That's a really huge deal now, and probably kind of a job field that will open up for you guys as you enter into high school and college area. Things like corporate wellness, because people are understanding the benefits of having healthy employees. So, you know, a healthy employee doesn't call off as much, they don't cost you as much insurance-wise and things like that. And so we have contracts with different organizations throughout the community to kind of just help keep their employees healthy. And then even just down to the couple of classes that I teach. So I teach one class that's for, we call them active older adults. So we're looking at people that are 60 plus. I have to make sure that I understand all of the things that we need to be aware of, the different risks that population has. And they have a very specific manual of what exercises we can do and what we can't do. And then I also teach a class that's kind of like a boot camp class. And so I get to do lots of like internet-based reading to make sure that I'm keeping up with the new trends and all the fun things that people are liking to do in the exercise world. And then, you know, again, what things are a little too risky, things of that nature. In my free time until I got out of college, just because I did plenty of reading in class. I like to be a good student, and so I read everything that was assigned in high school and in college, and especially when you're in college. You know, some people say that for every hour that you're in the class, you do twice as much of that outside of the class, which is true for some and not true for others. But I mean, long story short, if you wanna be a decent student in college, you're going to be reading every single day, multiple chapters.
Kyle Pittman. I am Mrs. Pittman's wonderful, loving husband. She didn't say that, maybe she's ashamed. I am a personal trainer at Anytime Fitness in Batesville. Does everybody know where that's at? Batesville? Okay. Does everybody know what a personal trainer is, what they do? Okay. I take people through workouts, basically. Take them through workouts, give them workouts, and teach them about how to eat right so that they can either lose weight or lose body fat or gain muscle, whatever they want. Okay. Doesn't seem like you'd have to read a lot to do that. That's kind of why I got into it. I don't like to read. Okay. But it turns out you do have to read a lot more than I like to. Okay. The type of things that I have to read for work typically pertain to nutrition. Okay, and I have a nutrition book here with me to show you guys. It's not like when you get a job you're done learning. Okay, the majority of what I've learned about my job came after I got hired. I learned a lot in college. Okay, I went to college for 4 years and graduated, and that helped me get my job and helped me make a little more money at it. All right, but you don't have to have a college degree to be a trainer. And if I didn't spend the time going to college and learning everything that I needed to learn, or that I have learned, and then spending the time at my job learning more, I wouldn't be as successful as I am. I've been one of the top 3 trainers in the company since I got hired. Okay, and a lot of that comes from knowing more than most other trainers. All right, a lot of trainers don't have degrees; they just get the certification. Okay, but having a degree definitely helps, and I think that helps with any job. All right. In college, I had to read a lot of textbooks. Obviously, you know, you got to read your text to pass your classes. all right? And then I also had to read a lot of journals, articles, scientific journals, things like that, that show different things of, why things work and why other things don't work, or why things work better than others and things like that, stuff like that, okay? If I didn't know these things, I wouldn't be able to give my clients the best results possible. If I didn't give my clients the best results, they probably wouldn't come back and see me, therefore I wouldn't make any money, and Mrs. Pittman and I would live on the streets. Okay, no one wants to live on the streets, do you? How many of you guys actually like to read? A few of you, not a lot. That's okay. I don't like to read. I really don't. It takes a very, very good book that's not real hard to read for me to enjoy. Okay. But I do read for fun as well. I read a few books here and there in between, more work-related stuff to enjoy, so that I don't always hate reading. Okay? Because if you always hate reading, you're probably not going to want to do it ever. And if you can find stuff that you enjoy, that makes it a little bit easier to read the stuff that you have to read. Okay. A big part of why I try and learn as much as possible now, when I am reading when I need to, is so that I can get a better job in the future. I am a certified personal trainer, and I'm also a certified strength and conditioning coach. Ultimately, I would like to get a job training professional athletes, being a weightlifting coach for the Colts or Notre Dame so that they can win, or maybe the Yankees or any professional team. Okay, in order to do those types of big time things, big profile jobs, you have to know more than pretty much everybody else out there. Okay, no one knows it all, and the people that know the most make the most, and they do the coolest things, right? Bob and Jillian from The Biggest Loser probably know a lot more than I do, and that's why they get to be on TV, and they get to make a lot of money, and they get to yell and scream at people, and I don't get to do that. Okay, which sounds like fun, right? You're not always going to understand the things you read either, especially in big textbooks, especially if you go into something that's science related. A lot of personal training and exercise and nutrition is based on science, right? Science typically has a lot of big words you don't understand, okay? I've come across so many words I couldn't even tell you that I have no idea what they mean. But when that happens, it makes me feel stupid. Does anybody like to feel stupid? Show of hands. No? You do? Okay. Watch out for that one. No one likes to feel stupid, all right? And if you don't understand things, it can kind of frustrate you, and you maybe just want to give up on it. That's not obviously the best route to go. What I do is I highlight the words, or write them down, and then I'll look up the meanings later. That way I know what it is for future reference, okay? Having a good base of knowledge, even with the big words, is important, because in the future you'll understand that you can get through the books easier and you'll know it, okay? It could be something that maybe you'll never see again. It could be something that you see every single day, all right? So having strategies to help you learn as much as possible, really with as little time invested as possible, is the best way to go about it, I think. I don't want to read for a long time and have to reread over and over and over again. So I highlight a lot, I look up things a lot, or I ask my wonderful English teacher wife that knows everything, or I put Post-its in my book, and that's why I brought this book in today. If there's an entire chapter I know that's important out of this nutrition textbook, then I'll mark it, okay, with a Post-it note. That way I can just go back to it real quick and easy. I don't have to search for it, and there are my answers. If someone asks me a question and I know the answers in that chapter, I can go back to it very quickly and get them the answer that they need, okay? Smaller things I'll highlight so that when I reread through it, then it's easier to find in that chapter, okay? But I'm not going to highlight a whole chapter, so I just mark the chapter. Make sense? Not everyone needs those same strategies. Krista, I know, takes a lot of notes. She likes to write things down on a separate piece of paper. I don't do that. Okay, that doesn't work for me. It never has. So we're different. Everyone is different. You all have different needs and probably need different strategies to help you learn as much as possible. Okay. I do read for fun, like I said, a few books. Tuesdays with Maury is one of my favorites. The Lincoln Lawyer is one of my favorites. Those are good books. Different, very, very different in style and the way they're written and difficulty. But I think that reading for fun will help the work reading pass by a little bit easier. Okay, and you read those books faster, and I think you learn from it on how to use those strategies that you're trying to instill with your work reading. Okay. Finding time to read, especially if you're in athletics or in clubs, it can be hard to do too, especially if you're doing both. I was in football, wrestling, and I was in the band. So finding time to read wasn't the easiest, and I didn't like it, so I really didn't make time to read. But now that I have to stay ahead of the game. I try and read every night when we go to bed for about an hour. Okay, that's when I find my time to read, especially now that we have a son. It's a little bit tougher to find that extra time. But, you've got to make it work within your schedule. Nothing is, I guess, given to you. You're not just going to have free time every day to do the things that you want to do. It's something that you've got to make time for. Okay? So, making priorities, and reading should be a priority for everyone. I really think that. Even though I don't like to read, I understand that it's very important to help me get ahead in my career or get into a bigger and better career. Okay? So, being able to make time to do that and use those strategies to help yourself learn as much as possible is extremely important. And, it can only benefit you. There's no one ever got dumber or lost money because they read and learned more. The smartest people in the world are the ones that make the most money. How many people want to be rich when they grow up? Nobody?
Oh, come on. How do you want to be rich when you're up?
Be rich, yeah. Everybody wants to have a lot of money, right? Everybody wants to have like Bill Gates' money. That guy's super loaded. He's super smart too. He spent a lot of time working hard, learning new things, and then trying new things. Okay? And the great thing about reading is not only do you get to learn certain things about your field or your work or whatever it is you're wanting to read about, but you also get to learn about the mistakes that other people have made. Or there are a lot of people out there doing work for you that you don't eventually have to do. All of these scientific journals I've read about the things that these different trainers have tried and it didn't work. Now I don't have to go out there and make those same mistakes. It saves me a lot of time, and I learn from their mistakes. So that's really nice too, is that helps me be successful with my clients and with my job. Okay?